today, but he said he did some pushing and pulling on the sled.
Yes.
Positive sign.
Yep.
Getting closer and closer to ground.
Very much so, and he'll continue with with that program, and until he's ready to take the next step.
You had mentioned when you let him go that you liked what Zeke Bigger was doing. What did he do to bring back, and what do you?
Well, he had a good training camp. I mean, the hard part is we had seven guys that we know that have been with us the year before. With the injury situation we had to make a move to activate last week, and so what we had to do was, this week, and so what we had to do is we had to find somebody to come in, and we knew Zeke knew the system, so he was ready to go, and he came in and worked today.
Is Kelvin's knee issue lingering from a couple weeks, that hit a couple weeks back, or excuse me, not when he bent backwards last week, or is that?
Yeah, it's a lingering effect. So, we'll continue to monitor it, but he seems to get stronger as the week goes, and so it's, he plays on Sunday, played on that turf. I guess it's one of those things when you play on turf, it agitates a little bit more. So what we're trying to do is let it calm down, and hopefully, it won't be as bad coming off of next Sunday's game.
Especially if it's really soft turf.
That's my understanding.
Did you have any more thoughts about that? I know some of your guys thought that.
That's exactly what I was told, is that a lot of guys felt that it was soft. Some guys thought maybe they put maybe too much of those rubber pellets down, I guess. I mean, I can't tell you, Joe, because I didn't play it, but just listening to the guys' responses, they weren't happy about having to play on the turf.
It can't be easy for a young player that wants to get out there, I'm sure, to come back and then have a setback. What have you seen from Curtis in terms of kind of maintaining his wherewithal and kind of staying?
Well, I know he was frustrated last week, because obviously there were some things that we wanted to do with him and create a bigger opportunity for him in the game. He knew that going into it, and unfortunately, when he aggravated it and didn't practice on Friday, there was no way we could put him on the field without having a chance to practice what we wanted to do.
But in terms of, because he had that big play the week before, yep. I mean, in terms of, it
feels
like he's getting back.
Right, he does, and we know what his potential is, but at the same time, we can't expose a guy that hasn't had the opportunity to work. And that's one of the things that guys got to understand is that if you can't practice on Friday, it's just going to be hard, and that's what happened. He couldn't practice on Friday, so the decision was made early that we were going to move on and get somebody else ready to roll.
Ron, how much you attribute Cam's completion percentage being up this year to what you guys are doing offensively this year compared to last, and just Cam being better?
Well, I think it's part of just the understanding of what we talked about in the offseason. That was, some of the things that we had to change, some things we had to get better at. And one of the things that we went out and did consciously was we brought in, a young man in Christian that has that ability to, make plays underneath. And it's created a little bit more awareness for Cam in terms of throwing the ball underneath, taking what they're giving. And I think that's something he's starting to understand and just move on from, in terms of, not always trying to make the big throw downfield as opposed to taking what they give us in front of us and just grind it out, It's interesting because I go back and look at it, and in every game I believe we've had a drive that's been over 6 minutes, and in 3 of our games we've had drives that have been over 8 minutes. And I think that's part of it, is that we keep the drive active by taking those 5- and 6-yard passes at a time.
How tough, because he likes to throw the ball downfield, how tough was it to make that click and switch over?
Well, what's to say switch it over? Yeah, see, so it hasn't really completely switched over. But, it's all about repetitions and practice. And, last week was the first time he practiced all 3 days during the season. So, that's very encouraging in terms of us going forward, getting the timing down and stuff like that.
Ron, when are you getting in Jarrisburg?
We're getting a smart football player. One of the things that we wanted to try and, what we thought about in terms of having to replace for Kurt for a while, hopefully it's a short while, but we'll see, is that we wanted a veteran voice out there, a guy that has some experience. He's a ball hawk. It's one thing, like tremendous ball skills. And again, he communicates very nicely. So that was what we're looking for and what we're hoping we're getting.
He was saying that you guys had him in, I guess, during camp, and it was almost sort of just saying where he was health-wise.
Very much so. We wanted to, we wanted to sit down, visit with him, see where he was in terms of knowing our, learning our system, how capable would he be. And it turned out that he's exactly what we would be looking for if we got into a situation like we did. That's why we went out and got him, because we knew already about him, having brought him in during training camp.
You mentioned the ball blocking, how important is that for a defense that has had trouble taking a ball?
I think it's huge. I mean, we had a couple opportunities last week and we dropped them. We missed them, so we had to go out and, I'm not necessarily saying we're consciously doing that, but with his abilities, I think that's an added bonus.
You really think he's got a chance to play Sunday?
Oh, yeah, very much so. I mean, smart football players can, especially veteran guys that have been in the league, 7, 8, 9 years. It's just a matter of getting the terminology down, and again, it's also knowing when he's in the game as well, and then playing to his strengths in terms of calling plays. So I know Steve will be aware of when he's in there, and I think that'll help in terms of him dictating what calls he'll use.
Ron, I know a couple of your receivers definitely have stepped up the last couple of weeks, but with Demir going to IR, are you comfortable with where everyone is now, or do you think there's going to be some sort of transaction?
Well, there may be. Jordan, we've got to take a look at, obviously of the health of everybody. First of all, Kelvin worked on the side, got a lot of good work in. Curtis came in, did the initial stuff, and then worked on the side as well. And we got to see how both those guys are tomorrow. Again, it's one of those things that if they're not up there by Friday, then I'm not going to go into a game with a guy that hadn't had a chance to practice the playbook. So we'll see, but we really won't know until probably Friday.
There are a couple guys on your practice squad that have been here
Yes.
with you guys the whole stretch here.
Yes, and I think both those young men are guys that we find intriguing. That's why we brought them back. We think there's an opportunity for growth in this system with those two guys.
And the Bird signing again, is that kind of like Jared Allen a couple years ago? I mean,
Yes.
where you guys started pretty fast here this year. Go get a veteran guy rather than bring up a young
Yes.
guy off this practice.
Yes, and that's a great comparison, Joe, because that is what we did talk about. Is that hey, we have an opportunity here. We want to pick up a guy that's been in systems, that understands systems. The other bonus we get out of this too is he's been in this division, so he knows Atlanta, he knows New Orleans, he knows Tampa Bay as well.
What can you contribute the lack of penalties to?
Oh, come on, I'm hard on everybody. It's all about discipline. Let's go. No, I really do. I think it is a little bit about discipline. I mean, and I think it's more about those guys holding themselves accountable to each other. It's one of the things that you always talk about, trying to get guys to understand how important it is to, take ownership. And so I know in practice sometimes when things happen, you hear the other guys getting on each other. And I think that's really important. I mean, it's one thing for the coaches to always yell and scream, but when guys start getting on one another, start putting that peer pressure on, taking ownership of it, I think that helps. And that's what we've got this year. We got it during training camp. We get it in practice. We get it daily. We got it today in practice, in fact. So that was a good thing, and I think that's part of it too.
Obviously, Julius performing at such a high level is a great boon to you guys, but also it seems like every week now there are quarterbacks that just can't seem to get away from the guy in terms of having seen him so many times in the past. Is it kind of amusing at times to watch and see, this is a guy they're all too familiar with?
It really is. I mean, and it's going to be interesting when we get into the NFC North. We got Detroit coming up, and they've seen him for the last few years, for a number of years actually, more than that, having both been at Chicago and Green Bay. And I think it really is kind of amusing sometimes when you do think about it. But it'll be fun to watch. The guy's been terrific. He really has. He's been a terrific pro. He's really helped a lot of our young guys out. And I think it's, and he's also been a big boon for our defensive coaches.
How's he benefiting from having other great linemen around him up there as far as getting the sacks in?
Well, I again, if you have the kind of ability he has, that Mario has, Wes has, Charles has, that inside push is huge. Because the quarterback can't step up, and because for the most part that's where they go. To avoid an outside rush, they've got to be able to step up into the pocket. And if your inside guys are having success or getting push, you'll have opportunities to make plays.
Ron, you've got quite a stretch in the schedule coming up, but particularly with Detroit, I know it's early, but this could factor into a number of things, including playoff seeding if you both
very
play
much so.
well.
It all does. Every time you play an NFC conference team, we're exactly what we're looking at, what it could mean. But really, not to get ahead of ourselves, Scott, but the biggest thing we've talked about really is it's Detroit now. It's Detroit. There is a lot riding on it.
What strikes you about Detroit?
I'll be honest. I think their quarterback is a unique talent. I think his ability to to find opportunities to throw the ball, and he'll throw it any way he can. I think that they've got a good mix of running backs. I think they're all quick, they're all fast. You watch the way they run; they all have their own unique style. But I think also they've got a combination of tight ends. They've got a great big tight end. They've got a tight end that catches the ball, runs good routes, a lot like Greg Olson. Wide receivers are a mix of good-sized guys, and then you've got Golden Tate, who's average size but plays bigger than he is. I mean, they have an explosive offense that could potentially score a lot of points. Then you throw their kicker into the mix that's kicking the ball from 55, 60 yards away. I mean, it is a unique offense. Then defensively, they play fast. They play very fast. And I really think that a lot of things that they do start with their front. I think their front four, any combination they use is very good. I like their corners, their safeties. They play fast, they play quick, they play very confident, and they have very active linebackers. I mean, this is a good football team we're playing.
How big of a role does momentum play heading into this week, coming off that big New England win, and knowing the offense can play in a shootout like they did this past week?
Well, the biggest thing, more so than anything else, really, is being able to go out and emulate what we did. Play to our abilities. I mean, coming off a game like that, you just sit there and say, "This is what we're capable of. This is how we can play. These are things that we can do." If we were coming off of New Orleans like we did, it would have been, "Come on, we're better than that. We know what we're capable of." Now what we have to do is we have to ride that wave. We got to go out and play like it now. I mean, we can talk about it all you want, and I do agree with what Julia says to a degree, and that is, it's way too early to say this is a signature game, but this is the kind of game that could be a catalyst as you go forward.
4 games in, Ron, do you feel that you guys are finding your identity in terms of everything that you're?
I really do. I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of who we can be. I think a big part of it has been, was the play of the quarterback last Sunday. That was, obviously what we've been hoping for. And again, if he has that kind of success early, he does it against San Francisco and has that kind of success against, against Buffalo, and who knows what we could be. But I do know this: if we can again do what we did, emulate it, going into Detroit, I think we have a good chance.
I'm surprised that Christian didn't have a touchdown yet.
No, that's part of the game. I mean, he's making good catches. He's running the ball hard. It's just a matter of opportunity. And with him, it's just going to be a matter of time. And I think when he gets them, they may come in bunches.